It's finally here. Tonight, the elite drivers of stock car racing senior circuit square off in their annual all-star race. But tonight, something is different. It's under the lights for pride for $1 million and the thrill of it all. It's the running of the Winston, and it's bound to be one hot night.
The 1992 Winston at Charlotte Motor Speedway is definitely one of the most important NASCAR races in history. In the late 80s to early 90s, the thrill of the All-Star race was dying out, even though NASCAR's popularity was ever soaring higher and higher. So something had to be done. The folks at R.J. Reynolds and Winston wanted to axe the event entirely for the 1992 Winston Cup season. But Humpy Wheeler and Charlotte Motor Speedway wanted to save this event. So they met with R.J. Reynolds and brought many radical ideas to the table, with a lot of them being rejected. And just when it seemed like things were going nowhere, Humpy Wheeler suggested that they ran the race at night, and that instantly sparked the interest of R.J. Reynolds. Nowadays, this does not seem like a big deal at all, but at this time in 1992, the only track on the Winston Cup schedule that was raced at night was at Bristol, and even that race was using just temporary lighting to light the facility. So a speedway the size of Charlotte Motor Speedway has never been lit up and been able to race at night up until this point. So this was a huge project that Humpy Wheeler and Bruton Smith got themselves into to fully light this facility and host the 1992 Winston under the lights. The folks at Charlotte Motor Speedway really did their homework, got the lights installed at the racetrack, and then held an open test in April of 1992 that fans could show up. And 38,000 people showed up to this test, which is absolutely insane. People who were not even interested in NASCAR wanted to see the Charlotte Motor Speedway fully illuminated at night, as this was a really big deal. When May of 1992 came around, the track was ready, everyone was hyped for it. NASCAR gave this race a theme, One Hot Night, as it was the first race under the lights at a super speedway in NASCAR history. Eligibility for the race was previous winners from the 1991 season, as well as 1992 winners up until the 1992 Winston 500 at Talladega. If you were a previous winner of the All-Star race, or a past champion of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and attempted every race in the 1992 season, you were also eligible for the event. Also, the top two finishers of the Winston Open would also qualify for the race, leaving 20 of NASCAR's best to compete for the first time under the lights at Charlotte.
Here's the starting lineup. On the pole for the second year in a row, Davey Allison.
And Davey led from start to finish to win last year's event.
On the outside pole, the Pontiac of Rusty Wallace.
And Rusty won the 89 Winston on the final lap pass.
Row 2 going third, Bill Elliott in a Ford.
Bill was the winner of this event back in 1986.
And starting fourth, Ken Schrader's Chevrolet.
Schrader's been the runner-up in the last 3 Winstons.
Fifth and carrying our in-car camera, Jeff Bodine in a Ford.
Jeff has competed in 6 of the 7 Winstons, and his best finish being 4th.
Going off 6th in a Chevy, Darrell Waltrip.
And Waltrip won the inaugural running of the Winston in 1985.
7th, the Oldsmobile of Harry Gant.
And Gant finished a close second back in 1985.
Starting 8th, Dale Earnhardt in a Chevrolet.
Dale is the only 2-time winner of NASCAR's All-Star race.
9th, the Chevy of Ricky Rudd.
Rudd has been in every one of the Winston's run so far.
Starting 10th, Dale Jarrett in a Chevy.
Dale won his right to be in the Winston by winning at Michigan last year.
11th in a Ford, Morgan Shepherd.
Morgan is making his 6th consecutive appearance in the Winston.
Going 12th in a Ford, Dave Mader.
Dave Mader drives for Harry Melling, who qualified as a winning car owner.
13th, Terry Labonte.
Labonte won in 1988.
14th starter, Alan Kulwicki in a Ford.
His best finish was 5th back in 1989.
Going off 15th, the King, Richard Petty.
And this is the 4th appearance in the Winston for the King.
Right alongside his son Kyle, starting 16th.
Kyle has a couple of 6th place finishes as his best in the Winston.
Qualifying trouble for Ernie Irvin. He goes 17th.
He finished 5th last year in his first appearance in the Winston.
And engine trouble for Mark Martin in qualifying.
Mark's best finish was 3rd in 1990.
And back in the final row, Mike Waltrip, the winner of the Winston Open, and Hut Strickland, the runner-up.
The race would be a total of 70 laps, divided into 3 segments. The first segment of the race was 30 laps, and at the conclusion of that, fans could do a ballot and vote whether the field could be inverted or not, so the winner would be sent to the back. After a 10-minute break, the second segment would also be 30 laps, before a final 10-lap shootout to take home the money. Davey Allison would lead the field of green to kick off the first race on a super speedway under the lights.
Here goes the drag race.
Stock car racing's all-star event. It's underway. And it's Davey Allison out quickly with a lead. Rusty Wallace in second. Back straightaway. Schrader in third. They've broken away a bit from Bill Elliott and the rest of this field.
The first trouble of the night would come rather quickly when Dale Jarrett in his Joe Gibbs Racing number 18 got into the outside wall, which completely shifted the rear end of that car, causing both rear tires to rub on the quarter panels. NASCAR did black flag him, but it was too late. He would lose control and end up taking out Hut Strickland, Michael Waltrip, and Morgan Shepherd in the process.
He's spinning.
Trouble back straightaway. Jarrett comes around. Morgan Shepherd's into him.
Mike Waltrip, we've got a car.
Up, we got one on fire over there.
Hut Strickland hit the wall. Looked like it knocked the fuel pump off or something. It caught on fire, but it's out.
And we're under caution. 3 laps in. Let's have a look at what happened from our backstretch speed shot.
Here they come. Jarrett's car must have blown that tire where it was rubbing like Buddy was talking about with the track bar. Either the bar broke loose. He turned around. Got out. You can't see him there. Got out against the outside wall. That's Jarrett sideways. The other guys, there's Jarrett coming around again. The guys behind him are in the middle of that smoke and they can't see. They start stacking up. There's Morgan Shepherd coming in right on the inside. That was Morgan that clipped Jarrett. Here we go from a different angle. There's Morgan Shepherd running into Jarrett coming across track. You can see that was Mike Waltrip in the middle of that crowd back there. Got hit in the rear. And there's the fire that Buddy was talking about earlier. That's Hut Strickland's car, I believe, up there, wasn't it, Buddy?
Yeah. He must have hit real hard and knocked the fuel pump off, like you said.
Richard Petty looked like he dodged the whole thing. Oh, he got in the back of Michael.
Oh,
no, that's Hut right there.
Yeah, Hut got in the back of Michael.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like Buddy said, what happens is the fuel pump's really close to cross membrane. They usually break it off, and it's just a flash fire, and it went right out. But boy, Michael was really running in the other race a while ago. It'd be nice to see him finish.
When the race restarted, Davey Allison would drive away from the field and take the segment win with relatively ease, notching himself $50,000 in the process. There was, however, some pretty fast guys behind him that were just kind of stuck in traffic who started further back, specifically Kyle Petty and Dale Earnhardt. As previously mentioned, during this break, fans would be able to vote whether the cars would be inverted. This is the first time anything like this has ever happened in the Winston as well, and I think it's pretty obvious what the outcome is gonna be. The fans obviously voted yes for the inversion, which would put Davey Allison to the back and Jeff Bodine and Dave Mader on the front row to restart segment number 2.
Green flag. 30 laps, and at the end of this one, they'll start the final 10-lap shootout heads up.
I'm telling you, Richard Petty is right there behind Bodine. I think it takes the lead right here.
Look at this crowd. I'm telling you.
Richard pulling up on him.
Here comes Richard Petty, Stock Car Racing's all-time winner. 200 career Winston Cup point race victories. Tracking Jeff Bodine, who is a young driver, hoped that someday he could graduate from the New England short tracks and come down when Richard retired and make his move up into Winston Cup racing in a Petty car. Didn't happen quite that way.
I got to tell you, he's not losing any ground. He's running really well.
Jeff Bodine did a pretty good job trying to hold on to the lead, but he had immense pressure from behind from Dale Earnhardt and Kyle Petty. And at this point in the race, Kyle Petty was definitely the fastest car as he finally got around Dale Earnhardt for second and then made his move for the lead around Jeff Bodine.
Jeff Bodine. Don't touch that camera, Kyle.
Here comes Kyle taking a look to the inside.
Are they giving Kyle a yacht or something? He's really on the move here.
Kyle Petty to the lead.
And Richard Petty coming right in behind him. Richard got around Dale. Here comes Dale back on the inside.
Earnhardt right back, and Ernie Irvan is there.
Once Kyle Petty took the lead, he would cruise to a pretty easy victory for segment number 2 of the Winston, picking up his $50,000 bonus, with Ernie Irvan and Dale Earnhardt finishing in 2nd and 3rd.
Out of turn number 4 for $50,000. The Felix Sabates Mellow Yellow Pontiac. Kyle Petty gets 50 grand. Ernie Irvan $15,000 per second. Dale Earnhardt for 3rd, margin 1.78 seconds, 1st to 2nd.
As the drivers were hitting pit road to put 4 tires on and prepare for the final 10-lap shootout, this happened that the TV actually put on air, which is something that you would never see today. But this guy was getting arrested. I have no idea why, but yeah, the broadcast showed it.
What is this?
It's somebody getting arrested.
How would you like to see him find his car?
The racing to this point was pretty good, but the segment winners pretty much ran away with it in segment 1 and segment number 2, but the intensity for this final 10-lap shootout was about to pick up to a whole other level.
Green flag, 10 laps to decide bragging rights for a whole year. And it's Kyle Petty, and here comes Earnhardt on the bottom.
Boy, now, I'll tell you what, if Kyle can make a break with Dale and Ernie Irvan side by side, he might get a little bit of distance on the whole pack.
Now Schrader, watch the white car in 4th place. He's right in the middle of the corner, and that gets the 2 Fords blocked up right behind him. However, these 2 Chevys are not going to go single file.
You know, buddy, we've seen this over and over. 2 cars get side by side, and they don't have to do this with just a few laps. And look at Kyle Petty pulling away.
It's about a half a second difference per lap when you're running side by side and out and clean air by yourself.
Davey Allison moving up to battle that squadron of Chevrolets. Schrader, the white car, Earnhardt in black, and Ernie Irvan in yellow.
As Kyle Petty was doing his best to try to run away with it, racing in the pack was crazy, and Darrell Waltrip would go for this wild ride, bringing up the caution.
And
That's all that's left. Oh, Waltrip in the grab.
Oh, this was not going to straighten out. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, he is. He's been there before.
I'm telling you what.
He's
Oh,
gone.
now,
Oh. Darrell,
whoa.
he missed Elmo.
What a piece of driving.
Missed the pace car.
They're not going to put the caution flag out.
Oh,
That's
man.
what Kyle Petty is solid. Don't. There it comes. There it comes. They put the caution flag out. That's going to put him back on Kyle.
Kyle Petty did not want to see that caution, as now he would have to fend off the pack once again on a restart. Caution laps do not count during this final 10-lap segment, and Kyle Petty would lead the field back to green.
Looking for green. Kyle Petty inside. Dale Earnhardt outside. And Davey Allison restarting 3rd. We're back to green. 7 laps to go. Now let's see how strong Kyle is in the corner if he can get away from Earnhardt.
You better watch this 28. I'm telling you, that car is accelerating.
Earnhardt took the lead around Kyle, but there comes the 28 up the inside like a rocket.
With nobody to draft with, he's going to pop up into 2nd place. Kyle just did not get away down there.
Dale Earnhardt from the outside would take the lead from Kyle Petty, as Kyle would also lose a spot to Davey Allison, who's literally drove his way through the entire pack as he had to start last at the beginning of segment number 2 due to the invert, and Dale Earnhardt would have to try his hardest to hold off Davey Allison and Kyle Petty, who have definitely shown more speed than the 3 car all night. Kyle Petty moved past Davey Allison to take the 2nd spot, but coming to the white flag, Dale Earnhardt was still in the lead, holding off Kyle Petty and Davey Allison to this point, but what happened next would be one of the most iconic final laps in NASCAR All-Star history.
Davey Allison coming up, but I don't think will be a factor. Kyle just hauls it off the corner. He's got the inside.
I'll tell you what.
He's up to Earnhardt's bumper. Earnhardt takes it.
They're on the racing service down on the flat part of the racetrack. Look out.
And it's Kyle Petty. Kyle Petty coming to the checkered flag. Here comes Davey Allison to the bottom. It'll be the finish. Everybody was waiting for it. They crashed past the finish line. They have crashed into turn number 1. And Davey Allison is in a shower of sparks.
He won the race, but he sure paid the price for it.
What a finish, Mike, I'm telling you. The lead swapped 3 times on the last quarter mile of the racetrack.
Unbelievable.
What an unreal finish, but unfortunately, this is where things would go a little bit dark. Davey Allison was knocked unconscious during this wreck, and he actually hit his head on the wall, so it was a very, very scary scene, as the driver who just won the race wasn't gonna be able to celebrate his victory. Davey would eventually wake up, and he'd had to be cut out of the car, where he was then taken to the infield care center for further evaluation. His crew chief Larry McReynolds rode in the ambulance with him, and as soon as Davey woke up, he asked if he won the race, and Larry told him yeah.
Bobby Allison and I got in the ambulance with Davey, and Davey had come to. He must have asked 10 times what happened. I said, well, pal, you won the race, but you wrecked. And he went, no way. And he'd go, what happened again now? I said, well, you won the race, but you wrecked. Wow. So what happened?
So unfortunately, Davey had to be airlifted to the local hospital after this, where he spent 2 days there recovering from his injuries, while Robert Yates and the rest of the team went to Victory Lane and accepted the check of $300,000 and the trophy on Davey's behalf. But of course, there wasn't too many smiles in that Victory Lane. Despite all this though, the very next week at the Coca-Cola 600, Davey Allison would finish 4th. And he would not miss any races due to this. Also, after the race, people thought there was going to be some beef between Dale Earnhardt and Kyle Petty, but to everyone's surprise, Dale Earnhardt got out of his car laughing. Him and Kyle high-fived, laughed it off, and Dale Earnhardt had one of my favorite quotes ever from an interview.
Are those the rules of the Winston?
I don't know about the rules. There's racing. He was trying to win. I was too.
Okay, thanks, Dale. Maybe next year. 2-time winner Dale Earnhardt.
Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like NASCAR history, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can see my uploads, which happen every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And make sure to let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this race and whether you remember it or not, and how you feel about the ending. That's all. Hope to see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.